Yeah, you can start. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for having me. My name is Edson Chikondi. I am a lecturer in the Department of Commerce Management at DMI, St. John the Baptist in Lilongwe. My topic of presentation today is the emerging labor relation issues in Malawi. So basically, the labor relations is defined as the relationship between the employers and the employees or their representative. That is the definition that is found in the Labor Relations Act of Malawi. And a bit of a background on that, Malawi is a signatory to international labor accords or agreements. So most of the labor laws that are used in Malawi are of international standards. Malawi is also signatory to accords by the UN on human rights, on discrimination, and the like. All of those are hugely reflected in the Malawi labor laws. So basically, the labor laws are designed to make sure that there is a cordial working relationship between the employees and the employer. Why is this relationship important in today's workplace? It is very, very important so that organizations can be able to reach their strategic goals or to attain their immediate and future goals. How is that done? In human resource management, the most important resource in an organization are the people, are the employees that the organization have. So if the critical resource is managed well by the employer, there is a high chance that the organization will be able to reach its strategic goals. So labor relations are a vital part of today's workplace. So moving on, the current labor relation issues in Malawi. There has been, due to economic challenges that Malawi has been facing for the past 3 or 4 years, there has been industrial actions that has been initiated by the employees due to things such as low wages, poor working conditions, lack of job security. As you may have been aware, Malawi has been hit with natural disasters. We had hurricanes, we've had even the COVID-19. Those have had an economic impact. Malawi is hugely an agricultural-based economy, and those natural disasters have had a direct impact on the ability of most businesses to operate and be able to retain their staff. So as such, there has been that more or less tug of war between the employees and the employers, because the employers, they are looking at the profit margin, while the employees, they are looking at their own welfare. So this has resulted in things like low wages, poor working conditions, and as a result, the workers have retaliated by making demands to have their working conditions reviewed, going on industrial strikes to force the organization to listen to their cause. As a result of this, the economy, even the value that that's the economy has been able to produce in terms of exports, in terms of ability to even feed ourselves as a country, has been hugely affected by these disasters. As a result, companies have been forced to let go of workers. Companies have been forced to reduce in terms of annual increments in terms of salaries and benefits. Companies have had difficulties to implement those things under the current economic climate here in Malawi. So these things have had huge impact on businesses within the country. You know, when businesses are associated with disruption in service deliveries, their image is tarnished. Their reputation is put in disrepute, which will negatively impact the organization in the long term. Companies have also been engaged in order to mitigate some of these economic shocks that the economy has faced. There has been a reason in short-term contracts. There has been instability in terms of long-term planning for the employees within the organizations. Companies have gone into mostly survival mode just to make sure that they get through the year, not having the long-term loan. So those are some of the issues that the Malawian economy is facing as related to labor relation issues. So in spite of those current challenges that the economy is facing in terms of labor issues, there has been a shift in terms of speaking to the current needs of the labor force. As I've already articulated earlier, Malawi is a signatory to international labor organization. So it has to make sure that all the labor laws that are being used to govern the labor relations in Malawi should speak to the international accepted labor standards. So there have been amendments to the labor laws in Malawi. Basically, in Malawi, we have the Employment Act of Malawi, we have the Pension Act of Malawi, we have the Labor Relations Act of Malawi, we have the Industrial Benefits Act of Malawi. So all those acts have to speak to internationally accepted labor relations standards. So those acts of parliament have been amended, even some have been reviewed in their entirety so that they speak to the current labor needs that are internationally accepted. So, for example, the Employment Act of Malawi was amended so that it should reflect diversity and inclusion. Section 47 of the Act clearly has now been amended to include things like the paternity leave for men. That wasn't there. When a man, when the partner of a male employee has given birth, even if the partner is not a worker at the organization, the man is now given mandatory 2 weeks paternity leave. All right, those things were not there. There are things like non-discrimination based on race, gender, ethnicity. Those things are now clearly part of the labor relations acts in Malawi. There has also been a change in the Pension Act to make sure that it also reflects the needs of the workers. Basically, previously, people would only access their pension benefit when they are retiring, which was around 60 years of age. So there has been an argument by employees to say, no, we just can't wait until we are old to access the benefits, because we are supposed to invest even for the future generations in our families. So the pension has, the Malawi government listened to the people, and the Pension Act has been amended to make sure that, one, all the organizations are mandated by law now to put all their workers on a uh, pension benefit, so that whenever a person is out of work, they should have something to lean on as an investment that the organization is making for them. The other part is it has also been made mandatory to make sure that each and every worker within the working environment is covered. All right. So this there has also been an amendment to ensure that an employee, whenever he's not out of work now for 6 months, you can access your pension rather than waiting for you to reach the retirement age. So these things are being done to ensure that the labor relations are not only speaking to what the employees want or the employers want, but there should be a mutual beneficial relationship as to the bare definition of labor relations articulated earlier. So there has also been a change even in the retirement age here in Malawi. It is now not mandated that the retirement age is 60 or 65. What the new act has done is to put a range between 50 and 70, so that it gives that flexibility to employees, or rather the employers, to make sure that, looking at the strategic needs of the organization, looking at the goals that the organization wants to achieve, which would be a better retirement age for the organization. So there is that flexibility that advantages mostly the employer, to make sure that they set the age limit that they think they would be comfortable with. All right. So basically, looking at the labor laws in general, you'd see that they are designed to protect the employees from exploitation by the employer. Even here in Malawi, when you go to court on any labor relations issues, the burden of proof is on the employer to show that they followed the law to the letter. They did everything according to what they are mandated to do. And the employee is the one who is in the wrong. Even in case of industrial strikes, here in Malawi, when the Ministry of Labor, that is responsible for all the labor relations here in Malawi, they require that you, before you go to court for any industrial dispute, you have to go to the Ministry of Labor. They act as an arbitrator, so that when that process has been exhausted and still you cannot reach an agreement, that's when you are mandated to go to court. But without which, if you rush to go to the court, they will send you back to the Ministry of Labor to make sure that all the processes, well, there is that need to avoid litigation. All right. So as a result of that, the Ministry of Labor made sure that when these rules and regulations governing labor relations were implemented or were designed, they made sure that the last resort for employees is to do an industry action, to put their tools down. All right. As we have earlier shown, industry action has a direct effect on the ability of an organization to operate. So industry action is the last resort in labor relation disputes here in Malawi. And when you go to court, even the first thing they do is to ensure that you went through all the processes, you negotiated, you had a sit down with between the employee and the employers, and you try to sort out the differences, and you even included the Ministry of Labor to act as an arbitrator between the two parties involved. And because you couldn't even agree on that, there was need now to have an industry action. But this, as a last resort, has also been highly regulated by the government in the new Labor Relations Act. Now workers can only go on industrial strike up to 3 days on paid wages. After 3 days of industrial strike, the union that is leading now the industrial strike is mandated to shoulder the cost of that industrial strike until the issues have been resolved. So it is incumbent now on both parties to make sure that this last resort is not indefinite. It is mutually beneficial for both parties to come to an agreement whenever they have reached a point of going on an industrial strike. So the economic impact has been recognized on both sides when parties are negotiating on labor relations. It is very, very important to also note that organizations, it's incumbent on organizations to make sure that the workers are aware of their rights and obligations to this Labor Relations Act. It is very, very imperative for organizations to make sure that the right for employees to unionize is not inhibited in any way. There are huge penalties that are involved when an organization is prohibiting its employees from unionizing. So moving on, with the coming in of labor relations, as I've already said, there is encouragement for collective bargaining. Why is collective bargaining important in labor relations? It is very important because it helps employees to speak with one voice. All right? Employees, through their unions or their representation in whatever form or shape, they speak with one voice. Their interests will be heard if they have representation rather than for each and every employee to speak on his or her own behalf. So collective bargaining is very, very important in labor relations. It even it helps employees to avoid being exploited by employers. All right? So even when negotiating for things like wages, even job security, employees who have a better chance of gaining a fair advantage when they are part of a union or are being represented with one voice. So some of the benefits of collective bargaining agreements to the employees, one would be job satisfaction. When you have had a very good negotiation in terms of collective bargaining, you can even end up having a higher morale workforce, a workforce that is satisfied with the working conditions, which would result in higher productivity within the workplace. All right. So collective bargaining, there is a direct connection between the ability of employees to be of high efficient and to the agreements that have been reached between the employee and the employer. Productivity can be a result. One of the things that determine productivity of employees is the agreement between the employees and the employers. So collective bargaining agreements are very, very important. So if you look at during the pandemic here in Malawi, unions played a very crucial role in making sure that employees did not lose their jobs during the pandemic. You know, offices had to close, the economic activity was scaled down, which led to businesses wanting to let go of their employees. So in the end, some unions even negotiated that people might be let go on economic grounds, but as soon as the businesses have picked up, priorities should be given to those people that were let go during that period. Even working remotely was introduced that time due to those negotiations between unions and the employers to make sure that people are able to work from home. Those that had contracted the COVID-19, they were able to work while they were, if they were able to, even while they were in isolation. So collective bargaining played a very crucial role in that. The other one is on inequality in terms of pay. The government, through the acts that have articulated area, sets the minimum wage. So the union uses that as the baseline for negotiating in terms of wages. So when you speak with one voice, the likelihood of gaining a very good wage for the employees is very highly likely. So collective bargaining has also played a very crucial role. I remember recently we've had a devaluation here in Malawi of 48% against the dollar. So the United States dollar. So the union have also come in to that to ensure that the inflation has been mitigated by an increase that is speaking to the devaluation percentage, so that the impact on the employees has been hugely minimized. So why is labor relations a crucial part of today's workplace? As I've touched on in my presentation so far, dialogue is very, very important. Having clear lines of reporting when employees have a union or representation, where do they go to in terms of their grievances? And those people, the management within the workplace is giving the representation a chance that would enhance, one, the relationship between the two parties, the employer and the employees, which is mutually beneficial both to the employees and the organization, both in the short term and in the long term. The other issue is on exploitation. When there is a good working labor relationship, when the workers are properly represented within the workplace, it is very, very likely that all these acts of parliament, all these rules and the regulations that govern the labor relations here in Malawi will be enforced, because the unions will act as a watchdog for the employees on behalf of the employees to make sure that their rights are not being abused by the employer. Because truth be told, the employer-employee relationship is not an equal relationship. Employer will always have an advantage or power over the employee. So that's the premise of the labor relationship here in Malawi. The laws are being done to make sure that, yes, both parties are protected, both parties are given a fair representation, but the laws are also of the view that the employer will always have an upper hand over the employee. The other part is now the awareness on the part of the workers. As I've said, for them to be able to exercise their rights within the workplace, workers need to know their rights. Here in Malawi, the Labor Day is on the 1st May. I think that's the International Labor Day. One of the key themes that was celebrated or was amplified was to ensure that workers' rights are known to the workers. Even the employees, due to the globalization, we've had this influx of foreign companies that have invested here in Malawi. So one of the key issues that has had a prominent effect in the worker-employee relationship with those foreign companies is this ability of of the employer to know the labor relation laws of Malawi, so that they should abide by them, they should implement them properly, so that their workers' rights are not infringed. So awareness is also a very, very crucial part of the modern workforce here in Malawi. So in conclusion, the labor laws in Malawi currently, I can confidently say they are responding to the current needs of the workforce. How is this being done? Firstly, is by ensuring that we adhere to the international labor laws that we are signatories to, by ensuring that whenever there are changes to let's say, the Constitution or any other relevant pieces of legislation, the labor laws are also amended to reflect that, to make sure that people's rights are not infringed upon in the workplace. As I've already said, there is a direct link between ability of the workers to be effective within the workplace to the ability of an organization to achieve its strategic goals. It is very, very important that that relationship is well managed. And the primary way that the relationship is managed is through constant interaction between the representatives of the employees and management within the workplace. It is very, very crucial that management makes sure that it has an open relationship with the unions or the representatives of the worker, so that whenever there is an issue, the management should be able to get ahead of that issue and be able to resolve it so that the workers can concentrate on doing their work rather than negotiating for better working conditions. So that marks the end of my presentation, and I've ended it with a quote that fairness is at the center of labor relations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. And now we will go to continue for our participant. If you have any question for the speaker, please add them to the chat or you can raise your hand. First question, we have a question from Mr. Abdul. Good morning, sir. I am very interested in the topic of emerging labor relation issue in Malawi. What are the main trigger for the labor relation problem that are emerging in the country? Thank you.
I didn't. Is it written?
Right in room chat, sir. Room chat of Zoom.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very okay. Imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I've already said, the trigger has been mostly the economic status of Malawi right now. We are going through a very turbulent time. So there has been a problem where most of contracts are run on a yearly basis, contractual agreement. So within the year, you find that there has been a devaluation of the local currency. You find that your agreement, you said, okay, you'll be getting, let's say, $50 per hour. But due to the devaluation, that $50 will not be sufficient for the work. So in the end, the workers will start now complaining to their representative. That will turn the representative will go now on the negotiating table with the management to renegotiate the agreements. So that has been one of the main triggers of the disputes or the labor issues that Malawi is facing. The other one is also the natural disasters that Malawi has faced. We will find that as an agriculture-based economy, companies are not able to harvest or to cultivate as much as they projected. In the end, they go back now to the labor union to say we have to let go of some of the workers. So basically, those are the two major triggers to the labor relation issues here in Malawi. Yeah.
Okay.
It's from Kenan.
Yeah. Another question from Kina.
So I talked about globalization again in the context of things like foreign direct investment. We have had an influx of foreign companies here in Malawi. All right. So I've also talked about the labor unions negotiating for remote working, which is the technological part. People are able to work without actually coming to the workplace. So the technological advancements have also necessitated that flexibility. But in terms of globalization, as I've said, foreign direct investment, it has impacted labor relations in that there is need now to make those incoming companies aware of the labor relations parameters within which they have to operate here in Malawi. In that they have to be aware that even though they are an international company, they have to abide by the labor laws that are governing their work here in Malawi. So there has to be that uh, considerable effort by even the Ministry of Labor here in Malawi to make this abundantly clear to companies that are coming in Malawi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for answering. I think it's very clear answer from Professor. I guess no one else asking again. Okay, before I close this event, for our participant, please open your camera. I will take a picture on the count of three. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for your kind cooperation. Finally, we come to the end of visiting lecture today. We would like to thank you for Dr. Edson Chikondi for the wonderful information and sharing your knowledge. We hope this information will be beneficial for all participants. At least we have to have collaboration in the future with them, ESD John the Baptist University, Malawi. The visiting lecture for today and here we have to see you soon. Thank you and have a nice day. Thank you for Dr. Edson. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, have a nice day. Bye bye.
Yes.